Have you ever stopped and wondered what life was actually like before the internet? Not slower internet, not dial-up internet. I mean no internet at all. No Google, no YouTube, no social media, no online shopping, and definitely no smartphone sitting in your pocket. It's hard to imagine now because the internet is woven into almost everything we do. We use it to work, learn, communicate, shop, navigate, and entertain ourselves. Most of us interact with the internet dozens, maybe even hundreds of times every single day, without thinking about it. But for most of human history, none of that existed. And somehow, people still managed to live their lives just fine. In some ways, life was harder. In other ways, it was surprisingly simpler. So let's travel back to a time before Wi-Fi, before smartphones, and before search engines, and see what everyday life was really like before the internet changed everything.
Today, if you have a question, you can get an answer almost instantly. Who invented the telephone? How tall is Mount Everest? What's the capital of Mongolia? A few taps on your phone, and you've got the answer. Before the internet, finding information took actual effort. If you needed to research something for school, you went to the library. Not for 5 minutes, sometimes for hours. Libraries were packed with shelves full of books, encyclopedias, newspapers, and magazines. To find what you needed, you often searched through something called a card catalog. Imagine a giant cabinet filled with thousands of tiny drawers. Inside each drawer were index cards listing books and where they could be found. That was the search engine. Once you found the right card, you had to walk through rows of shelves, locate the book, and then actually read through it to find the information you wanted. There was no copy and paste, no AI summary, no quick answer box, just books, notes, and patience. The process was slower, but it forced people to spend more time with information. Many people argue that they remembered things better because they had to work harder to learn them.
Getting somewhere new was a completely different experience. Today, most people pull out their phone, open a map app, and follow turn-by-turn directions. Before GPS, getting lost was a normal part of life. People relied on paper maps, huge paper maps that somehow unfolded into the size of a blanket. You'd spread one across the dashboard or your lap and try to figure out where you were. Then someone in the car would ask, "Which way is north?" And suddenly, nobody knew. Not a single person. If you were driving somewhere unfamiliar, you usually called ahead and asked for directions. You'd write them down on a piece of paper. The directions often sounded something like this. Go past the old Dairy Queen. Turn left at the second stoplight. If you see the grain elevator, you've gone too far. That was your navigation system. Then you'd get in the car and hope you understood your own handwriting. If you missed a turn, there was no voice telling you to reroute. You either figured it out yourself or stopped at a gas station and asked a stranger for help. And somehow, most of the time, it worked. Communication was probably one of the biggest differences. Today, you can text someone instantly, no matter where they are. You can send photos, videos, voice messages, and emails in seconds. Before the internet, most communication happened through landline telephones. These phones were attached to the wall. You couldn't carry them around. You couldn't put them in your pocket. And if someone else was using the phone, you had to wait your turn. Teenagers often spent hours talking to friends on the phone. Parents constantly told them to hang up. Some things never change. If someone wasn't home, you usually couldn't reach them. There were answering machines, but many people simply missed calls. And that was normal. People weren't expected to be available every minute of every day. In many ways, there was less pressure to respond immediately because nobody expected instant communication.
Entertainment looked very different, too. Today, we have streaming services with thousands of movies and TV shows available at any moment. Back then, television operated on a schedule. If your favorite show came on at 7 o'clock, you watched it at 7 o'clock. Miss it? Too bad. You waited for a rerun. There was no pause button, no rewind, no binge watching entire seasons in one weekend. Movies were often rented from video stores. One of the most famous was Blockbuster. Families would drive to the store, walk through the aisles, and spend 20 minutes arguing over what movie to rent. Then you'd bring it home and hope someone had remembered to rewind the tape.
Shopping required leaving your house. That might sound obvious, but it's a huge difference. Today, you can order almost anything online and have it delivered directly to your door. Before the internet, if you wanted something, you usually went to a store. You drove there, walked through the aisles, compared products in person, waited in line, and carried everything home yourself. If a store didn't have what you wanted, there was no quick online search to find another option. You either checked another store or came back later. People also used mail order catalogs, huge books filled with products. You'd flip through hundreds of pages, choose what you wanted, fill out an order form, and mail it in. Then you'd wait weeks for delivery. Compared to today's one-click shopping, it feels almost unbelievable. One thing many people remember is that life felt less connected, but more present. When people hung out together, they were usually focused on each other. There were no notifications buzzing every few minutes, no endless scrolling, no checking social media during conversations. If you met friends somewhere, you actually had to show up on time because there was no easy way to update everyone if you were running late. People spent more time outside. Kids rode bikes around the neighborhood. Neighbors talked face to face. Many memories were never photographed because cameras weren't always available. Moments simply happened, and then they became stories. The internet has made life faster, easier, and more connected than ever before. We can learn almost anything instantly, communicate across the world in seconds, navigate anywhere, watch endless entertainment, and shop without leaving the couch. But life before the internet wasn't necessarily worse. It was just different. Looking back, it's easy to laugh at paper maps, card catalogs, and rewinding VHS tapes. But for millions of people, that wasn't ancient history. It was just a normal life.